Thank you very much for joining me this morning for this Webbox webinar on maximising ROI with Google Ads. So first up, today, the content that we're going to be looking at for maximising ROI with Google Ads. So we're going to be looking at, very quickly, kind of understanding ROI, what ROI is and why it's important. Exploring different campaign types. So within Google Ads, the different kind of campaign types that you can run and what they're effective for. Optimization to maximize ROI. So that is the kind of meat of this session today. Looking at lots of different kind of techniques and things that we can do to make sure we're getting the best out of our Google Ad campaigns. Tracking and measuring ROI metrics. So just quickly talk about tracking, reporting, why that's important within the optimization realm as well. And maximizing the ROI, and some tips at the end as well. So what not to do. So just some advice around the way that we would kind of approach certain things. So moving into the content, section 1. So we've got understanding ROI. So like I say, I'm going to cover this like relatively quickly because I'd imagine most of you kind of know what ROI is or have an understanding for your business as well. So just to kind of, I suppose, self-promote myself, the webinar we ran a couple of weeks ago, which was an introduction to performance marketing, channels, objectives, and budgeting. We covered kind of what ROI is and different metrics within that as well. So feel free to, it sounds like most of you have kind of done this before, but feel free to go back and have a look at that if it's something that you're interested in. It's on our website. You can view it, and I'll also put a link to it in the kind of follow-up email as well. But we basically looked into the more kind of entry-level stuff, the different metrics that you kind of run, and ROI is a part of that. But ultimately, why is ROI important? It's really important because it ultimately, as a metric, tells us that our ads are built well. So, but based on things like our kind of the expected click-through rate on the ad relevance, and the landing page experience, all of this plays into having a good ROI. So if you're doing things correctly and you've got kind of good ad scores and things like that, it means that the ads are built well. So your ROI essentially is going to come down. It's going to go up. So your cost per click and things like that are going to go down. So that the ads that you're putting out are running well. Yeah, built well. Sorry, it means they're also performing well. So people are interacting with them, people are engaging with them, and you're getting good traction through them. And it also means that you're showing them to the right audiences. So, as most of you said, you kind of run campaigns before. So as you're building up that data and you've got an understanding of where the ad should go, who should the right audience to kind of interact with those and engage with those, then it means that you're getting in front of the right people. Basically, it's not you're not wasting resource with the ads themselves. And we just look a little bit as well at what is ROI for you, because obviously it can be different based on the organization or the business or what you're trying to achieve. So generally it kind of splits down into two different things, and you can look at it as your media spend and fees to run that. So I know, if you're doing it externally, that could be the fees to an agency to kind of run, or a freelancer, whoever you're using, to kind of run those and manage those campaigns for you, as well as the media spend. So the money that actually goes into Google Ads or the channels that you're using. That typically comes out as what ROI is. So you're looking at your kind of net profit divided by the net spend times by 100. So this is where you can start blowing minds with maths and things like that. But if you're selling products and you spend £10,000 on a Google Ad campaign, but the revenue that results in is 50,000, but you have a margin within that of say like 15%, then you put all those into this calculation to work out what your actual return on investment is. So it's taken into account all of the different aspects, not just how much money you put into the channel or how much money has kind of been generated from the channel. Another way that you can look at this, so it's slightly different to ROI, but you can look at it as the media spend only. So the amount of money you put into the platform. So if you put that £10,000 in, and then you've generated £50,000 in revenue, typically, you could look at that as an ROI if that's the way you want to measure it, but that would also be classed as the ROAS. So that is return on ad spend. So like I say, the amount of money that you put into it and the amount of money you've basically got out through those ads. So like I say, everybody kind of measure it differently, but it's just have a think about what that actually means for you, and how you want to measure your ROI down the line. Because if you fix on one, you want to make sure it's consistent continually through the months and through the years, so that you're not hampering yourself if you change that down the line. So now we're going to have a look at some campaign types and the campaign types that you can use within Google Ads themselves. So there are quite a few different campaign types. So we've got 9 listed here. We've got search, display, video, performance max, shopping, and then smart, app, discovery, and local. And we're just going to have a quick look at the 5 on the left-hand side, because the ones on the right are a bit more, I guess, maybe niche. So you've got smart ads, are a bit like performance max, where you give it different assets. So you put different assets into the platform, imagery, text, different metrics, and it will create the ads for you and show it to your relevant audience. App ads are specifically ads to promote downloads of your application, of your business application. So I'm not going to dig into that too much. Discovery ads, again, are a similar thing in terms of a discovery of you as a business. So again, it puts out different ads. And then local ads are, like it says, they're more based on location and searching for things near you and that type of ad. So we'll just have a quick look across the 5 on the left and what they actually look like. And I'm sure you've probably come across most of these before anyway. But first up, we've got search ads. So these are typical ads that you find when you're searching on Google. Obviously, we're looking primarily on Google Ads, but it can be Microsoft ads as well. You get them through Bing. But these are the results you get at the top, where it says sponsored above it. You get a piece of text. You get links through to a page, through to a landing page on the website, and it's basically matched up based on the relevance of your search term. So the keywords that are in the ad and the term that the person has searched from. We've got display ads. So these are use the Google Display Network, and as it says in the name, they are visual ads. So where we've got search ads, which are text-based, we've got these ads which are very visual. They use imagery, they use other assets to pull people in, and they don't necessarily just show on the Google search results page. They can show on different websites around the internet as well. So that display network, spreads out across different sites, so you can show those ads to people. We've also got video ads. So these are ads that typically show, on YouTube in the Google sense, and they will show before, during, or at the end of a video. Again, if anyone's used YouTube, I'm sure you've come up against these before. You've got, you can normally get the 5 seconds, and you can skip, or it kind of locks in, and you've got to watch the whole thing. But again, these can be really good if you've got a kind of a product or a service that needs to either be shown to your target audience rather than just described in text. So it can be a great way to kind of promote from that aspect. We've then got shopping ads. So these used to be actually free, but they brought them in as a paid service as well. And these are, again, similar to the kind of search text ads. They will be based off of the search parameters that you put in, and then typically for kind of e-commerce, then you'll get this shopping ad at the top, which will give you the price, give you the product, and allow you to click straight through to kind of make that purchase as well. So obviously these are very useful for kind of e-commerce shops as well. Then we've got performance max ads. So these are a bit unique as well. Like I said, the smart ads at the start, you give these performance max campaigns lots of different assets. So it could be video, it could be images, could be the text, like the titles and the summaries that you want to put into the ads. And then you program in, again, like your target audience, what your goals are, and we'll talk a little bit about the strategies a little bit later. But then the platform itself generates these different ads for you. So you're not necessarily putting all of the assets together in a single ad. The platform will do that, and it will kind of work out which assets work best together, which ones are getting the best conversion rates, which ones are getting the best views, all those kind of things, and obviously uses AI over time to build up that understanding. Now, that might sound like something that sounds incredible, but it can be a bit difficult as well if you don't necessarily know what assets to give to the platform itself. So if you haven't done that kind of initial, those initial campaigns, built up some data, understand kind of what people is, what is resonating with people, what isn't, then it can be quite difficult, a bit daunting to put all that information in. So yeah, it can be a good one to use, depending on, again, your objectives and your goals as well. So what is the best campaign type? And this is always the question that doesn't really have a solid black and white answer, because ultimately it's based on your business type and your goals as well. So are you service based? Are you product based? Are you trying to raise brand awareness? Are you trying to push products to sales? Are you trying to get leads? So there's all these different things that you need to put into the recipe to understand which are the best ad types for you through Google Ads. Now, as an example of that, if you are e-commerce based, then maybe search, display, and shopping ads would be ideal for you, because you're pushing products, you're trying to they're a product that somebody is kind of actively searching for. So they're the best sort of channels and avenues to go through. Whereas if you're maybe launching a new product or service, then it could be that display or video is best for you, because instead of people maybe directly searching for it or getting an understanding of it through text, it's much better to show them the product or show them a video which explains how it works or what they benefit from it and these kind of elements. So it's all about essentially what's going to resonate most with your audience and for your business and service as well. Then moving into section 3, so optimization to maximize ROI. So like I say, this is the kind of meat of this presentation and the core of what we're really looking at today. So first up, we've got ad copywriting, and similar to, like I say, in terms of what are the best ad types to use for you or the best channels to use for you, there's no golden rule in terms of ad copywriting. It's ultimately about researching who you are as a business, how you want to kind of be portrayed or put out, the type of you might have a really varied kind of target audience. So you could have people that are sort of teenagers to 30, and then a group that are 50 to 70, and the wording and the way that you approach the ads for those two different groups are probably going to be quite different. So it's ultimately about understanding who the target audience is, so create those initial the initial copy for the ads, and then with optimization, ultimately all of it is about learning. So as we'll touch on in the kind of reporting and tracking element, as we understand more and more what is working with people, we want to continuously improve and update that as we go, so ultimately optimizing it. So a tip that we would give you is that if you start running ads, or if you're running ads now, or you create a new campaign that you're going to run, create kind of multiple different versions. So say 3 different versions as a minimum of a single ad. So change the wording slightly, change the way that it's addressing the audience and what they're supposed to do, and run those with an equal rotation. So as you start gathering data and understanding which ads are performing the best, so you've got like a version A, B, and C, it might be that version B is performing best. Now, what people tend to do then is they'll either get rid of A and C and they'll just run with B, or they'll change the frequency of rotation so that B is shown more than A and C. What we would recommend you actually do is keep the rotation equal, but if A and C aren't performing as well, edit those to more match what B is doing, or even tweak them and try something different. Experiment with it and just try and figure out what it is that will resonate with your audience, and try and improve those. So keep the multiple versions going, and ultimately they're kind of competing with each other constantly. So it's about that optimization, about understanding what's working, and about experimenting and continually making those improvements. So yeah, it's having that multiple different options going, and learning from the data that you're collecting and understanding what's working with the audience. Next up is ad extensions. So ad extensions are something which are really important, and we really want to add them into this topic today, because as I'll probably mention a few times through the session, but we run digital audits for clients as well, or for external people. So this can either be through your website, or it can be for your performance marketing. And quite often when we do it for performance marketing, the ad extensions aren't being utilized within Google Ads. Now, these don't necessarily increase like the strength or the quality score of your ad, but they do. Have been shown to have a positive impact on your click-through rate. And essentially what they do is add additional information, additional elements to the ad to make it a bit more robust. So it can lead to things like higher quality leads, and it can also help optimize your PPC budget, because if if you add these in and you increase the click-through rate, ultimately your kind of ad rank is going to get higher, and your cost per click is likely to kind of drop down. So it's really important that you have a look at these ad extensions and utilize them. Now we're going to look at them in a bit more detail here, just because they, like we say, they are important. And there's 12 different options here that you can have a look at as well. So we're going to have a look again at these kind of 6 on the left hand side, because I was conscious we might have been here all day if I was going into all of them. But I'll leave those there. I won't read through them all, because we're going to go through the 6 on the side. But yeah, basically I'll send these slides across as well at the end, so you can take a look at these in a bit more detail if needed. So the first up is a site link extension. So where you've got your kind of search ads, you can add these site links to the ad, and I've got 2 examples here. So for instance, the ad for Nike on the right hand side here, the links all below where you've got men, Nike sale, women, kids below, they are all site links that have been added to this ad. Now, not only does that give more options to the user for them to click on, so maybe I don't want to click on that top one, but I'm looking for some trainers for my kids, so I go down to the kids link and go straight into that landing page. It also increases the size of the ad that you've got. So if you didn't have all those links there, even as a minor thing, the next result or the next ad would be much closer and in the viewport of the user. So it's a great way, again, of just making your ad bigger, making it stand out more, and getting more click-throughs that are relevant from users. We've then got call out extension. So this one is essentially extending the ad copy that you can put into the ad itself. So for this example for DoorDash, the ad copy ends at the essentials delivered in under an hour, and then they've got these call out elements that add on to the end. So you can use this to talk about different sort of advantages or things that people might gain through it. And again, it's just a good way of bolstering the ad and adding more information to it. We've also got structured snippets. So these ones are where we typically add in, the Acme Electronics here on the right hand side. We've got a kind of a rating here that we can see, and it adds again that additional layer of information to the ad. So there are certain limitations around what you can put in the structured snippets, but it's just an additional way of adding, again, more robust data and more robust information into the ad and bolstering it that way. We've got an image extension. So again, based on looking into this as well a bit more in terms of data, if you look at Google's own data, they say that using image extensions can result in a 10% improvement in click-through rate on mobile search ads specifically. And ultimately users are very visually based, so they're much more likely to look at an image, process an image, than they are to the text initially. So it can just be a great way, again, if you're advertising a product or a service, a good way of just showcasing that, and a different way to stand out in that respect as well. We've got the call extension. So this one simply, as you can imagine, is a way of adding a phone number to the ad itself, or if you're on a mobile, it's a call link, so someone can tap that and they'll come through on a mobile. And again, it's just a way, if you're more directed towards calls, you don't necessarily, some people might be more form based, they want people to come through to the website and fill out a form. It may be that you're more call based, so you just want to get that lead through the call. You might have a call center, it could be all different reasons, but again, it's just a good way of getting that kind of easy lead through from the ad, and getting that direct link from the user as well. And then last but not least, we've got lead forms. So these are ones that you typically find as well on places like Facebook and LinkedIn. And it is essentially what it says. So from the ad that you get served within the Google search results, there is a form that's directly on that page. So you can tap on the link. It's at the bottom here on the left-hand side of the screenshot. Then it opens up the form. The person can put their details immediately in there, and then that lead comes through to you. So again, it's a kind of more direct way rather than sending them through to a landing page, which then they may get more information from and then submit their information through a form. It's just having that form right there and then within the ad. So again, another good way to kind of generate lead information from your ads. So those are the kind of different ad extensions that we would recommend that you have a look at and make sure that you're kind of utilizing within the ads. Another element in terms of optimization as well is the account structure itself. So you want to ensure that you've got as clear and as simple an account structure as possible, but also that it's set up in the correct way. So making sure that your campaigns and your ads and the hierarchy of what you're setting up within the account itself is using best practice. Again, going through the audits that we do, quite often we'll find that ads are either grouped together in the wrong way, or it's using one campaign with multiple different ads within it. So yeah, things like that can really help. And one big advantage of this as well is it just can make it much clearer for you in terms of reporting to understand which ads are doing better and which ads maybe need a bit more work and need a bit more optimization. So if they're all kind of bundled in together and it's not very clear, it's going to be very difficult for you to do your job. So it's going to be much easier if they are split out and it's really clear how you can action those essentially and keep going. Then looking at bidding strategies. So the Google ads, essentially the way that the bidding works is it takes into account sort of different aspects, different elements of the ad. So the first up of that is the quality score of the ad. So the relevance of it in terms of the content you put in there, the ad copy, all those kind of things. The ad relevance and the landing page relevance, so where you're actually leading the user from the ad to, you want to make sure that those two things align up, because if they don't, then again the quality score will go down based on Google. The target audience relevance, so again, who's searching for this ad, and again, the competition that's around in terms of when someone's made a search or when an ad is going to show to somebody, who else is competing for that at the time, essentially. So there's lots of different kind of bidding strategies that you can use, and again, it's going to be what is the right one for you as a business. So you've got manual bidding, which essentially means that you control all of this yourself. Again, people that are running Google Ads campaigns may have experience doing this as well. But you can do things like set a maximum amount you're willing to pay for a click on a keyword, so it won't you won't just run away with your kind of ad spend. And the main advantage of a manual bidding is that you've got more control over the budget that's being used within Google Ads, and you can adjust those bids as well on specific keywords. So you've got that ultimate control over it. The downside can be that obviously it's a bit more time consuming. It could be prone to kind of human error within there as well. But also you've got to kind of obviously stay on top of it. So in terms of using the time up and just putting time aside to go in there and continually kind of update that and manage it can be quite challenging. And then you've got manual bidding. So on the other side, you've got automated bidding as well. So an advantage of this, obviously, is it can take away from that kind of time-consuming element of manually updating it, but it does obviously give you less control over what goes into it and what the bidding strategy ultimately comes out with. The other thing is that because your data is going through the hands of the Google's algorithm, ultimately it can be a bit more difficult to get crystal clear tracking in terms of everything that's happening. So yeah, it's something worth kind of assessing in terms of what's best for you there as well. And some different bidding strategies that you can use through Google Ads as well. So we've got maximized clicks. So this is a great one if you're running a new ad or if you're starting to run ads in Google Ads if you haven't done it before, because ultimately it's all about volume. So, essentially it's sending people to your website or to a landing page on your website. And we want to get as much volume through as possible. Now, the reason we say this to do it at the start is because ultimately you want to build up as much data as you can to understand the type of people that are clicking on it, which geographic location they are, which copy they're resonating with, all these kind of things you want to understand and build up as quickly as possible so that you can use that data to leverage in different, again, bidding strategies and different ad types. Then we've also got maximized conversion value, and there's also maximized conversions. These are kind of more automated, and essentially they will, on the flip side of getting just as much volume as possible, maximizing conversion value or maximizing conversions, we should say to start with, will put in a bidding strategy to get as many conversions as it can for your budget. If you then do maximize conversion value, what this is doing isn't trying to get as many conversions as possible, but it's trying to get the highest value conversions possible. So you might get a lot less conversions, but it's typically going for higher value. So again, you'd want to really look at how that's running and the type of budgets that you're putting in. But again, it's more of a kind of automated process. And then there's manual CPC as well, so the cost per click. So again, this gives you full control over the bids that you're putting in. It does again allow you to set a maximum CPC or cost per click for the bids for the individual keywords or ad groups. So again, you've got that kind of granular control over how it's spending your budget, and it can be useful if you've got specific insight into maybe which keywords are most profitable. So again, if you've run that initial maximize volume type, then you build up some data, then you can start using that a bit more manually to fine tune your ads and how they're kind of running as well. And then looking at budget management. So I spoke a little bit about budget and budget for performance marketing in general on the webinar that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago for the introduction to performance marketing. So I'll cover this relatively quickly because again, if you guys have been running campaigns in different platforms, then you probably got a bit of an understanding of this. But ultimately, it's really important to know how much you kind of should spend and how much you want to spend within the channels themselves. And the channel will give you recommendations in terms of kind of like minimum spend to remain competitive. And again, ultimately, it will come down to factors like the industry you're in, the competition within there, the different campaign objectives that you've got. So budget is something that really needs to be, I guess, researched and looked into to start with, but it can be fine-tuned and adapted over time. One myth with performance marketing, like I said in the webinar a couple of weeks ago, is that it can be, cost you loads and loads of money. But again, like we said, in terms of the bidding strategies, you can set a budget on these things, whether it's per bid or whether it's per day, so that the platform won't go above that. And once it gets to that limit, then it won't keep spending your money, basically. So have a think about the kind of different budgeting and the different ads that the different budgets you want to put into the different ad types. And with the budgeting as well, again, I mentioned a few weeks ago, but you've got the allocation across the different campaigns. So one thing which is quite nice within performance marketing is the flexibility to be able to if a campaign is doing particularly well and one maybe isn't doing so well, you can move budget from the less well-performing one into the well-performing one, and push the elements that are running well. Also, seasonality comes into play as well, because if maybe you are e-commerce or your services are utilized at a certain time of year, maybe it's in the summer, you could be a landscape gardener or something. It could be that summer's more profitable than in the winter months. So you want to kind of like change the amount of budget that you're putting in through the year as well. And again, you've got that kind of flexibility to be able to do that through the platform and ebb and flow as it goes. One thing to be conscious of there though as well is that if you change the budget by too much, you've got an ad campaign running regularly, and then you change the budget hugely, it can kind of trigger the learning phase again, because it goes, oh, hang on, I've got either a lot less budget or a lot more budget, so what can I do with this? So again, you need to make sure that you can keep that in mind and give it the kind of few weeks and months to keep learning and keep improving that performance as well. One element as well for which is really important in terms of the ad optimization, is the landing page optimization. So the pages that you're actually sending your users through to from the ad, you want to make sure that that page is basically as effective as possible, because ultimately you could have the best ad in the world, everyone's seeing it, everyone's clicking on it, but then they come through to this page and it's a bit pants and they just click away. So you're losing that conversion. So again, another kind of shameless plug for a webinar that I did earlier this year, but feel free again, I'll put a link to this in the follow-up email, but it's creating effective landing pages for conversion. So I was talking primarily, from a web perspective, from a website perspective, but obviously this is relevant within the ad side as well. And the kind of things that make a landing page effective are for conversions are ultimately what make a website effective. So it's things like making sure it's fast, making sure that the content is hyper relevant. So again, from a landing page perspective, where you're sending somebody through to learn more about a service, learn more about a product, or inquire or purchase that product, on that landing page, you can make a super hyper relevant experience for them. And that's where the kind of personalization comes into play. I think I say in that session, it's not just going, oh, hi, John, welcome back to this page. That's not necessarily personalization. It's that that this person is interested in this subject. It could be that there's a geographical location, or it could be certain different different attributes that they possess, which you can kind of lean on. It doesn't necessarily need to be really personal things. So you're leaning into their interest in that and creating that really unique experience. So yeah, feel free to go through and watch that. But I think it's, again, one of the most important things is making sure that landing page works effectively, because again, it's all about that journey for the user from the ad through to your website and the ultimate conversion. And then remarketing. So I'm going to touch quickly on remarketing, because again, this could probably be a whole session on its own. But remarketing is a really, really great tool to take advantage of in terms of Google Ads and performance campaigns across the board. So you may or may not have run these before, but essentially what you do is you add remarketing code to your website. So you can do that either through, there's a Google Ads code, but the recommendation is to use the GA4 code. Because you can get a bit more, use a bit more data through that. And what it does is, once somebody clicks on your ad and comes through to the website, or even if they've come to the website and browsed around, it'll essentially use cookies and follow them around the around the internet, essentially. So your display ads, the video ads, the different type of ads that you're putting out through the channel, they will show to that person, because oh, they've been to this specific service page, so they're interested in this service. So then the Google ads will show them relevant ads to those as well, as they navigate around the internet. Now, again, this is really, really important, because people typically, based off of research, will have several touch points before they actually make a purchase with or even inquire about a service with a business or organization. So it's about, when someone's in that buying frame of mind, it's about keeping top of mind with them and kind of, again, having those touch points, following them around, so that you're the business that they think of when they ultimately want to go and make that purchase. So again, it might be a good webinar topic for down the line, but remarketing is definitely an important one to take a look at. And last but not least, also, is utilizing existing data. So you might actually be sitting on a gold mine of data that you can use within the Google Ads platform and within different performance marketing platforms as well. Now, if you've got a CRM, if you're collecting your customers' data and you understand, again, who they are, what they're doing, then you can actually take that data and you can put it into the Google Ads platform, and you can either serve ads specifically to those users, so it will find them basically online, and you can cater to them. Again, if you've segmented that data, it could be that certain customers have certain preferences or certain interests in certain products or services. You can keep marketing to them, but also you can create lookalike audiences. So based on the customers that you've currently got, the platform will look at basically like their activity online, the kind of interest that they have, and it will build up an audience of people that are similar to them. So again, it's expanding that reach. It's expanding who you're kind of accessing through the ads as well. So that can be a really, really good way of increasing the reach of the ads. One tip with that as well is just to check on your privacy policy as well, so that obviously you need to make sure that you're allowed to use your customers' data in terms of that remarketing element. So don't just chuck them in there willy-nilly. But yeah, check that out before. But that's a really important element to look at. And ultimately, if we're looking at all these different elements in terms of the optimization, so we're continually looking at our ads, understanding how they're performing, and how we can continue to improve them over time, we're going to end up with happy clients like this. They're going to come to our website, they're going to convert, and they're hopefully going to keep coming back and trust and utilize the brand as well. And I always get that guy in my slide decks these days. So they're moving into section 4, so tracking and measuring ROI metrics. So I've kept this one relatively brief as well, because I think, basically the importance of tracking is, again, fairly self-explanatory, but again, we could probably talk about it for ages if we get into the nitty-gritty of it. But essentially, the importance of the tracking and making sure that the tracking is set up correctly is basically step number 1. That is what you should be doing before you start actually running ads, because if it's not set up correctly, you're not going to collect the data, and you're not going to be able to do all those things we just talked about in terms of optimization, because you're not going to know, which ones are performing best, who they're resonating with, which audiences they're going to, all this kind of stuff. So you want to basically make sure you're tracking end to end as well. So from as soon as somebody has seen that ad, they've clicked on it, they've come through, which pages they've gone to on the website, and ultimately either where they've come out of the process or where they've actually converted through. So whether that's downloading a file or submitting a form or making a call, whatever it is, you want to be able to ensure that you can track end to end. And like I say, that data is of vital importance so that you can ultimately understand what's working and what's not. An element of this is setting up the goals within GA4 as well. So like I say, where you're kind of tracking from start to finish, then you want to make sure that GA4 is basically within that suite of understanding the data and collecting that data. And as a little sizzle, I'll talk a bit about a webinar that I've got coming up for the next quarter as well related to GA4. So stick around for that, please. And then, yeah, tools and platforms that you can use. So obviously within Google Ads, they've got their own kind of like native reporting that you can use, but something that we always recommend, and if we work with a client on performance marketing, we'll always set up a Google Looker Studio for them as well. So they use this dashboard because it essentially we can pull in data from all different areas. So it will be GA4 and Google Ads as a kind of base, but we can also pull in Meta, we can pull in programmatic, we can pull in any reporting data from these different channels and platforms that you're using, and you've then got one place that you can basically go to report and check on the metrics on a kind of like monthly or more basis. Now, one massive advantage of this, and one thing that people really find useful, is that with GA4 coming in and taking over from UA, people aren't necessarily loving that platform, or it is quite different to what UA was, and it keeps changing. And it can be fairly time consuming to dig in there as well and find the certain metrics that you want to find to report on. So again, within the Looker Studio, we can just figure out which are the key metrics that you want to see on a monthly basis, and then the dashboard will just pull those in, so you've just got them there immediately. So again, it's about making that process as easy as possible. So have a think about that as well, and how that works as well. And then also, one tip here is we've mentioned the tracking kind of end to end, and the phone call tracking is really important as well. So a tool that you can use for that is called What Converts. So again, I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, and basically it will allow you to track phone calls, understand how those phone calls have gone, so that you can understand, again, people coming through from certain ads, there may be a certain demographic, how that call has gone, so that you can understand the value and again, how to optimize that process and the kind of leads that are coming through. So What Converts is that tool. So yeah, please go and have a look at that as well. And then last but not least, section number 5. So it's just some quick tips in terms of what not to do. And Paul, I've seen your question, so I will answer that in a minute. So first up is stick to one channel or ad type. So this is the reason I asked the question at the start in terms of different channels that you're using. It looks like most people aren't just sticking to one, which is great. So our approach essentially to performance marketing when we're working with clients is nothing's off the table. So it's all about, experimenting as much as possible, gathering as much data as you can, and understanding what does and what doesn't work for you as a business. So like I've said through the whole session today, it's about continuously gathering data, understanding which channels are going to work, where your audience are, because there may even be a channel that you haven't tried, but your audience are there. So yeah, basically experiment, expand into different areas that you think you can use. And it's especially important as well within Google Ads itself. Don't just stick to one ad type. Make sure that you're utilizing a variety of different ad types so that you've got those different touch points with your customers as well as when they're searching for your services or products. What not to do, brand campaign wastage. So that maybe sound like a weird title. I can think of another way of putting it. But where we spoke earlier about the kind of account structure, quite often as well, we'll find through audits that people will put their kind of generic keywords for the services or the products that they sell in the same ad campaign as their branded keywords. So their, the company name and their product names, whatever it might be. So what actually ends up happening there is that when people are searching for either your brand name, then you're basically paying, for them to get those results through. So a better way to do it is to split out into 2 different ad campaigns. So you've got one which is the branded terms and one which is the general terms. Then again, you can put the budget in. So if you want to spend, say, like £50 a day, split that down so that you're spending like £5 a day on the branded terms, because ultimately if people know you, then they're probably either just going to go to the website or they're already going to have found the product, and put more budget. So put the £45 of the other £50 budget into the generic keywords, because if people are looking for a generic product or a generic service, but they're not putting the brand name in, you want to be more competitive within that area than you do if someone's just searching for your company name. So yeah, have a think about that split and make sure you're not kind of wasting budget within the brand name as well. And then last but not least, relying on PMAX campaigns. So essentially what PMAX will do, and like I said at the start, it can be a bit daunting in terms of getting all the assets in there, but once you've got those set up, it does look quite attractive. But it essentially, without the kind of data that you build up at the start, it essentially looks for easy conversions. So customers that know the brand, they're already more likely to convert. It'll push the ads to them. So a bit like we were talking about in the previous slide with the wasting the money on people that already know you, it's going to do that sort of thing. So it's just going to look for the easy conversion. So you don't get that necessarily that fine control over it. And also with these campaigns, not a lot of data or as much data can be pulled out of them than can on the other campaigns. So they can be useful for certain aspects, but again, they're ones that we kind of shy away from more, again, depending on the purpose of the campaign itself, but just something to be wary of there as well. Cool. So in review, we've got understanding ROI. So make sure that you know what ROI is for you and your business, so that you can essentially calculate that consistently while you're running through your different Google campaigns. We looked at the different campaign types. So again, look at the campaign types which are going to be effective for you as a business, depending on the sector you're in, the types of products or services that you're offering. What's the best going to be the best mix for you? And again, you want to basically make sure that you can spread across as much as the effective campaign types as you can. Optimization of the to maximize your ROI of the ads. So ultimately, it's all about gathering as much data as you can and continuously optimizing things like ad copy, things like making sure that you're putting the right ad extensions in. Again, once you put ad extensions in, you may want to tweak those as you're optimizing the ads, see which links are getting the most clicks, those kind of things. And yeah, ultimately, like I say, it's gathering that data. Tracking and measuring ROI metrics. So again, we want to make sure that that tracking is in place as early as possible at the start of the ads before they even launched. It goes end to end so that we get as much data as possible. And we've got that clear understanding of what we then need to do to make those optimizations, and then ultimately what those optimizations are impacting. You know, are they having a good impact? Are they negatively impacting it? How is it actually affecting the ad campaigns on the long run? So we absolutely need that data. And then a few things not to do: make sure you're not wasting budget on kind of branded terms. Don't rely too heavily on PMAX, and the other one's gone out of my head, but it was. What was it? Can anyone else remember? Hang on. Oh, stick to one channel or type. There we go. Yeah, don't just stick to one channel or type. Make sure that you're utilizing a variety of them so that you're getting in front of as many people as you can. Thank you for listening. So again, if you want to connect on LinkedIn, please feel free to find me on there and connect. Always looking for new connections. But yeah, appreciate your time this morning, and I hopefully see you at some more webinars in Q3 this year.